Got some breaking business news for you on the programme today. This is the confirmation of the merger, in fact, of carmakers Peugeot and Fiat Chrysler. Of course, very luckily, Stephen Carroll, our business editor, is with us here on set to give us the ins and outs. Stephen.
Stu, the boards of both these two companies have approved this merger deal, which will create the world's fourth largest car maker. Talks over a tie-up were first reported at the end of October. Now, the merger is being seen as a boost for both companies, PSA, which owns Peugeot, Citroën and Opel, and Fiat Chrysler, to help them deal with a global downturn in the car industry. The plan will see a big windfall for shareholders, with both companies announcing massive dividends. Cami Nedelec has the details.
A new auto giant is about to be born. The pending merger between Peugeot and Fiat Chrysler will make the new company the fourth biggest car maker in the world, with 8.7 million in annual vehicle sales and 400,000 employees, and in charge of such household names as Jeep, Maserati and Vauxhall. The mix of high-end with low-end brands will mean the group will be able to target all price points. Another advantage, almost €4 billion in savings. Fiat Chrysler had been looking to pool resources with a partner to share the cost of developing clean technology in the midst of a global crackdown on emissions. Although the French government had previously blocked a deal between Fiat Chrysler and Nissan, they're on board with this merger.
And this is good news for France, this is good news for Europe, because you know that we have to face the challenges of the electric cars, of the autonomous cars, and to face that kind of challenges, you need to have champions at the world level.
Peugeot's Carlos Tavares will become managing director, while John Elkann, president of Fiat Chrysler, is slated to become the chair of the new board of directors. Each shareholder group will own half of the capital.
Let's see how shares in those companies have started the day's trading. Fiat Chrysler in Milan up around 1.5% at the open now. It's worth saying that Fiat's shares in Milan at least had jumped fairly significantly when the first details of this deal were announced back at the end of October. So the confirmation giving them a boost, but perhaps not as big as it would have otherwise been. PSA as well, Peugeot also seeing its shares rise by almost 3% in Paris too. So investors welcoming the confirmation and the details of that merger. More generally, it's a mixed open on the European markets today. Paris and Frankfurt starting the day in the red, but London seeing some small gains there. We're also watching sterling, which has fallen in the past 24 hours over moves by Boris Johnson to stop the extension of a transition period with the European Union. I'll get that out eventually. This was the picture in Asia earlier. Investors there taking profits after the gains of recent days. The Nikkei in Tokyo finishing the day down by 0.5%. Now, a court in California has approved a settlement worth $13.5 billion from the electricity company PG&E over its role in sparking wildfires in the state. It's the third settlement by the company over a series of blazes in recent years that caused deaths and extensive damage to homes and businesses. Dealing with these cases pushed PG&E into bankruptcy last January. It's still waiting to win approval from the state's government for a plan to recover from that process. And Argentina is to impose a tax on purchases of foreign currencies as part of the new government's plans to overhaul the economy. The 30% levy will apply to buying US dollars, used by many in Argentina, where inflation is estimated at over 50%. This as the government is in negotiations with the International Monetary Fund over changes to its bailout. Selena Sykes reports.
He was swept into power after vowing to put Argentina back on its feet. After taking office last week, President Alberto Fernandez has unveiled his plans to kickstart the country's struggling economy. In a sharp shift from the austerity policies of his predecessor Mauricio Macri, his government's proposal to Congress aims to boost welfare spending.
This is the deepest economic and social crisis we've gone through. We have to face up to reality. In this context, we're imposing a tax for an inclusive and supportive Argentina.
The series of economic measures includes a tax on financial assets abroad and on the purchase of dollars, the currency used by many Argentinians worried about a volatile exchange rate and sky-high inflation. The 30% tax on foreign currencies for 5 years goes a step further than previous government's policy, which limited purchasing to $200 a month.
70% of the tax will go to Social Security, which has been extremely damaged over the past few years. And 30% of that tax will go towards infrastructure and housing.
The government has also proposed a tax increase on agricultural exports, including soybeans and wheat. The measures come as Argentina prepares to renegotiate its $100 billion debt with creditors. Despite a surprise increase in growth taking the country out of an 18-month downturn, Argentina is expected to slip back into recession in 2020.
That's all the business news for now. Stuart.
Thank you very much. Stephen Carroll, our business editor on France 24.